welcome to my channel. I'm Amber from Amber's Books and More, and today I have my summer reading wrap up. So, I'm sorry, I have not filmed a video in like 2 months, and so basically I missed July and August wrap up. So I'm just going to go through all of them at once as my summer reading wrap up, and there's a lot. I think I read around 20 something books between 2 months, so let's just jump right in and get started. So the first two books that I read in the month of July was Sleeping Giants and Waking Gods. The first and second book of the, what is it called? Of the Themis Files. I don't know if it's a series or trilogy yet, because I know the third book is coming out next year. It's called Only Human, but so far there's only the two books out, and these are basically sci-fi, and it is about a girl that falls into a hole and falls into the hand of like a huge robotic giant hand. And then years later, she is a scientist, an adult, and she's in charge of kind of finding out where this robot came from. And so this is kind of the story of the robot and where it came from and what it is here for. I don't want to say much more because it would give it away, but I believe I gave both of these 5 stars, or I may have given 1 5, 1 4. I don't completely remember because it's been quite a while since I've read them, but I did really love them, and you should give them a try if you enjoy sci-fi. So the next book that I read in July was A Closed and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers, which is kind of like a companion spin-off series, or spin-off book, I don't think it's a series, of The Long Way to a Small and Angry Planet. So this basically follows just one character that was in the first book and kind of goes off on their own adventure, and this is their story. While I did still enjoy Becky Chambers' writing, I did enjoy the world and the diversity, and I did kind of care for the new characters. It wasn't as good as the first book, but when I say not as good, I mean that's a 5-star book. This is like a 4-star book, so still good. It's still worth it. It's just not quite up to the standard of the first one as far as the characters go. So one thing I should probably mention was that one of my main focuses for the month of July was really like continuing and finishing up some series that I had started. So you'll probably see that theme kind of going on within these books. So the next two books that I read was The School for Good and Evil, A World Without Princes, and The Last Ever After, which is book 2 and 3 of like the original School for Good and Evil trilogy. There is a second trilogy that has started that has kind of taken these characters after school, like what happens after these are over. So I did really enjoy these. I think I had given the first book a 4-star, and I think that these are both around 3.5 to 4 stars a piece as well. I did really like some of the character arcs. There were some character arcs that I didn't really care for. But overall, I was really happy that I finished this series, and I will probably eventually continue on with the next ones. I just don't see the need right now. So the next book that I read, I borrowed from the library, so I don't have it anymore, but it is Paper Girls, right? Paper Girls, Volume 1 by Brian Vaughan, and he's the one that created the Saga series. This is a graphic novel. It's set in the 80s. I really enjoyed it. I do want to continue on with it. I just have not had a chance to get more copies because that was the only volume they had at my library. Alright, so the next two books that I read, one was in July and one was actually went into August. But that is This Shattered World and Their Fractured Light, which is book 2 and book 3 of the Starbound trilogy by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I really enjoyed these. These are also kind of a sci-fi world to where there's a lot of like, it's kind of like dystopian and sci-fi kind of mixed together, because there's like the man and that they're fighting against, and there's all these sci-fi elements, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I did read or listen to these on audiobook, and there were some parts in these that are really creepy, but I really, really love them. And I definitely, if you like Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff's Illuminae files, I really think that you will like these. They're a little easier to read because they're read in normal format rather than the mixed media. So I definitely recommend these. I love them. Okay, so the next book that I read, this one was also in July, and this was Shoot Down the Windy Bird, which is a collection of short stories and poems by Julie Xantopoulos. Julie is also known as Pages and Pens here on BookTube, so I will definitely link her down below. You probably know who she is if you found me, because most of the time people find me through her because we're kind of online friends. So, but if you haven't checked her out, definitely check her out. She is so authentic and honest and real and just so well spoken and such a good booktuber that she's what I aspire to be one day. And so this is her collection, 5 out of 5 stars. These are like flash fiction short stories, and there's a couple that kind of that you get multiple parts that make one larger short story. But these were fantastic. I found myself laughing and crying and just getting invested in a character, when the story is only like 5 or 6 pages long, is it's good writing. So definitely pick this out. The price is lower. I believe it's $8.99 on Amazon, and I definitely suggest picking this up, and you'll enjoy it. So the last book that I read in July was Umbrella Academy Volume One. I also got this from the library. I don't think I'm going to continue the series right now. I didn't really enjoy it. I don't think I could really get into it at the time that I read it. I don't know if I was just maybe in like a bit of a slump and I didn't enjoy it. I may give it another shot later because I did read it on Hoopla, which is like an app. And while I'm glad that they have a lot of comics and things there, it's not always the best to like look at it on my computer, my little phone. So I may end up trying to find like a physical copy and rereading it. Maybe I'll enjoy it more, or maybe picking it up on my iPad where it's a little bit bigger and I can see it more natural. Maybe. But I believe I gave this like 3 stars. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't one that I absolutely loved. Okay, so that ends July. August started with their Fractured Light. It went into August. So the first full book that I read in August was The Girl in 6C by A.R. Torre. This was the Java and the Librarian's Book of the Month pick for August, and so I will leave the live show link down below if you want to go watch our live show if you've read this. This is supposedly like an erotic thriller, but I do think that it really focused more on the thriller side. There were some erotic scenes because the main character is a cam girl, but it actually really fit into the story and how it affected her psychologically and her problems that she was having, which is the whole reason for the book. But it wasn't overdone. And so, about halfway through the book, the thriller aspect of it really takes over, and she's on a mission, and you don't really get any more eroticism after that. So it's even if it seems a little bit weird and maybe not like your genre, I suggest giving it a try because it was 5 out of 5 stars for me and I absolutely loved it. And I think that you should definitely give it a shot. So at this point in August, the tome topple started, and so I started reading some tomes. And the first one that I read is a bit of a chunker, but it is Blankets by Craig Thomas. It is a graphic memoir, so it is a story about his life, and it's all in like black and white, but I really like the art style. It's kind of reminds me of like some old school kind of comics, like almost like a Betty and Veronica Archie kind of old school black and white. And it was more adult than I expected it to be, but the story was fantastic and I really enjoyed it. And I definitely hope more people put out these type of memoirs because I think that they're more interesting to read in graphic form than just a normal like biography book. So the next book that I read in August for Tome Topple was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This one is kind of hard to explain what it is, so I'm not even going to try. I mean, you can look it up. It's crazy story, but Laini Taylor really has a beautiful way of writing, and I really enjoyed this story more than I thought I would. There were such mixed reviews on this on BookTube and on Goodreads, but overall, I did really enjoy this. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I do plan on eventually getting to her Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy because I've heard that it is same kind of writing style. So, yeah, this was the next book that I read for August. So the next 3 books that I read for Tome Topple, I read a lot for Tome Topple, guys. I don't know how I did it, but I was on a roll because I just got into the groove. But this was also going with the same theme as July as finishing out some series, and they happened to be tomes, and I was really excited about that. So basically, I read Scarlet, which is book 2 of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And then I read Cress, which is book 3 of the Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer. And then I also read Winter, which is book 4 of the Lunar Chronicles. I actually really enjoyed this entire series more than I thought I would. I think that I would say my favorite book is probably Cress. Winter is a close second. And then Scarlet, and then Cinder. So almost kind of backwards. It got better as it went on, basically. But I did enjoy the whole arcing story and how it kind of came together. Now, even though Winter was one of my favorite books, Winter herself was actually like my least favorite character. But overall, I would probably give the entire series like a 3.5, 4 stars. So it's definitely worth the read if you enjoy retellings and also sci-fi. It kind of mixes those two together just seamlessly. Okay, so the last book that I read for Tome Topple was Lisey's Story by Stephen King. So far this is my second Tome Topple that I have participated in, and it is a second Stephen King book. So my goal is still to read a Stephen King tome for each Tome Topple. But this one is about a woman whose husband is a writer, and he dies, and she has these people that are coming after her to try to get like all his unpublished work that he had. And it's kind of her story of this one crazy one and what he kind of tries to get from her and do to her and who he is. And it's hard to read at times because there are some parts in it where I literally clutched myself in pain. I don't even like to think about that scene because it was horrible. But overall, if you're a fan of Stephen King, I think that this is a really good work of his. And it is worth it just for the hardcover book. I mean, look at this. Can you see how beautiful this is? This is probably like I may do a beautiful naked books video soon, and this is definitely going to be one of at least the top 5 most beautiful naked books that I own. So after Tome Topple ended, I did want to continue in with the Lunar Chronicles and just finish out everything that she had written about that. So I did continue with Wires and Nerve, which is the first book of a I don't know, a graphic novel series. I don't know if it's got a different series besides just Wires and Nerve. But one thing that it was really weird to me is why they even made a dust jacket for it, because the inside book looks exactly like the dust jacket. I mean, and it's exactly. So why not just sell it this way? Because I don't know. That was weird to me. But I did enjoy this. It kind of, okay. So I enjoyed the storyline. I did not necessarily love the art style because it was done all in like a blue. And to me, even though the Lunar Chronicles is YA, I feel like the characters were very adult in the way that they acted, and the way that they were drawn was very childlike, and just the drawing style in itself was just too young, I think, for the story. But the story itself I did love, and I will continue with this series. So the next two books for the Lunar Chronicles was let's see, what is it called, Stars Above and Ferris. I did not purchase those. I borrowed those from the library. I don't plan on ever purchasing those. I did actually enjoy Stars Above a lot more than I thought I would. There was a couple of novella short stories in there that were backstory that I really liked, and then the sequel story at the end I really enjoyed. Ferris, I felt like I could have done without it. I didn't At this point I didn't really care about Lavana, and I know that it was meant to be read in between Cress and Winter, but because I was like in the middle of Tome Topple, I wasn't going to stop to read a novella. So at that point I had already known what becomes of Lavana, and I didn't care. So that's that. And I gave that one, I think, 3 stars, and I think I gave Stars Above 4 stars. But I'm glad that I read everything that she has written for the Lunar Chronicles. So I've only got a couple more books for this, and so the next one I picked up was, I started to feel myself go through a bit of a slump, so I was like, I need something that is easy and quick to read, and I was in the mood for graphic novel, so I was at Half Price Books and I saw Ghost by Raina Telgemeier. I'm sorry, Telgemeier. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm sorry, but I actually really love this. It is one for one. It is primarily about Mexican American characters and their culture, and I really enjoyed reading about a different culture. And it had like the Day of the Dead, and it had ghosts, and it was just so cute. And it was so cute, and I actually really loved it. So the second to the last book that I picked up for August was Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Like I said, I mean, I was on a Marissa Meyer kick. You know, I read a lot of Marissa Meyer in these 2 months. But this was the only book of hers that I hadn't read, and I had read all the Lunar Chronicles, so I was like, you know what, I have it. Just do it. Just do it. I didn't think that I would like it because it is a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, and Alice in Wonderland is one of my least favorite books that I've read this year. But I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. I gave it 3 stars. But here's my thing. The first half of the book, I think that Marissa Meyer did a good job at making it feel very Wonderland-ish, and I don't like Wonderland. So, at that point, I really did not care for it. And I was like, why did I ever think that I would enjoy a retelling of Wonderland when I don't like Wonderland? But once the story actually set in, I actually started enjoying it a lot more. Now, I didn't really care for Kath very much. I thought that she made some very stupid decisions. I think that she was very naive when she didn't need to be. And I wasn't surprised. Basically, this book is about how she becomes the Queen of Hearts. I wasn't surprised when she became the Queen of Hearts because she was kind of a dipshit the whole book anyway, right? So, but I didn't hate it. So, yeah. So, the very last book that I read for the summer is The Girl in the Train by Paula Hawkins. I have heard so many mixed reviews on this thing. Like, so many people either hate it or really love it. I actually really did love her other book, Into the Water. I really love that one. I wasn't expecting to like this one, but I actually kind of did. I think I give this 4 stars, and I think that it helps that I never actually watched the movie or anything. And I also do actually like the mystery type aspects of books. I like when you have unreliable narrators because I like it when I don't know what the hell is happening and I'm over going, huh? What? I like that. I mean, I like to be confused and then figure it out and be like, oh, that's not who I thought it was, but I thought I had it figured it out. And that happened with here. So I actually kind of enjoyed it. All right, so that's all the books. I'm sitting at 23 minutes right now of raw footage, so this is going to be a lot of fun to edit, and it's probably going to be a long video, and I'm very sorry. But it's my first video back from a 2-month hiatus, and what are you going to do, right? Got to catch you up. So either way, that's all I have for you today. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Like this video, comment, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff you're supposed to say. But until next time, have a great day wherever you are, and I love you. Bye.